All right, hello, here we go. Make sure you are in your first section of your notebook where we had taped or glued in these notes already that you're just going to fill in real quick. Also, you can open your book to page 58 as I am going to read it aloud and you can follow along. So here we go. On 58 under the big title, Return to the Promised Land. Says Moses picked Joshua to lead the Israelites back into Canaan. By the time they returned, many years had passed. Other groups lived there and were subject to powerful rulers who lived in walled cities. So what we got here was that when the Israelites returned home, new people had moved in and taken over Israel. So our fill in the blank for us is going to be new people. All right, moving on to the next, which is the 12 tribes of Israel. It's just below that, still on page 58. And it reads, as you have learned, the Israelites returned to Canaan, were organized into 12 tribes. The men of these tribes became Joshua's troops. They formed a fighting force united by their goal of reclaiming the land from the city's rulers. The first city to fall was Jericho. However, rulers throughout Canaan continued to fight back. It took about 200 years for the Israelites to win back Canaan. All right, some things we can now write down. This first note, Israelites are going to be organized into those 12 tribes. Also, these tribes became known as Joshua's troops. And the third thing, the goal was for them, the Israelites, to reclaim their homeland of Canaan, or Israel. And as we're about to read next, we'll be on the next page, but this last one we just read, it's going to take about 200 years for them to win back Canaan. So like I said last week, whenever we talk about stuff like this in history, a lot of us think in like short term, like this happened over a couple of years. They are going to be fighting the people who lived in Israel or Canaan for over 200 years until they take total control of Canaan. It's crazy. Pause here if you are writing this stuff down, but I'm going to keep reading. On to that last paragraph on 58, it says, once the fighting ended, starting there. Once the fighting ended, the Israelite soldiers became farmers and herders. The 12 tribes divided the land amongst themselves. Some received land in the mountains. Others settled on the plains. Tribes that lived near each other formed close ties because they shared beliefs, problems, and enemies. So if you look at the bottom there, the little picture, that is a representation of the 12 tribes. So you can kind of see some kind of basic ideas of possibly locations of the 12. For example, the second one with the snake, more than likely they live closer to the desert. The fourth one with the boats, those people are probably on the shore. So it's kind of cool. They took up those things. On to the next page. First thing is, after winning our war, after 200 years of warfare, those soldiers who fought in the war will become herders and farmers. We also saw that those very 12 tribes, the 12 sons of Jacob, are going to divide the land they now conquered into 12 ways, or basically 12 little kingdoms or city-states. And those who settled, they're talking about those tribes who lived and settled by each other are going to end up becoming friends. They're going to form alliances. They're going to help each other out. And that takes us to the last section, which is on page 59. If you are still working, catching up, you can pause it here for a second. So on page 59, hello? There we go, 59, 509, 59. I know, Lucy. I know. I get it. So page 59, just to your right, you're going to see Judges lead the Israelites. And it reads, during the 200 years of war, no single powerful leader led the Israelites. Instead, they sought advice from many different leaders called judges, highly respected members of the community. The first judge acted as military leaders. They were like generals. Later, judges gave advice on legal matters and helped settle conflicts. Judges such as Gideon, Samson, and Samuel gained fame throughout Canaan for their strength and wisdom. Deborah was one of the most famous judges. Her, it's a woman, leadership was unusual for the Hebrew women. In general, a Hebrew woman's most important duty was considered to be raising her children and providing moral leadership for them, just her children. Nonetheless, Deborah inspired a small force of fighters to victory against the large Canaanite force near Mount Tabor. Canaanites were the people who were living there. The judges played a key role in keeping the 12 tribes united. When the Israelites lacked a strong leader as a leader, Israelites lacked a strong judge as a leader, some tribes turned away from traditional religion. The judges spoke out against these practices. As you will learn in section 2, they also helped select new, strong leaders who would further unite the Israelites. All right, let's get our last bit of notes here. And it reads, so over these 200 years of warfare to reconquer Israel or Canaan, they are not going to have one king or queen to rule them. They're not going to have one leader. They're going to have several, actually. And instead, the group of their leaders are going to be called judges. And much like today, how judges are sitting in a courtroom, judging and ruling upon law and like crimes and all that, these leaders and judges would also do those same things. But firstly, because remember, they're at war for 200 years, they are going to act as generals, military leaders first. And later in time, they're going to give advice on laws. So when someone did commit a crime, such as those codes we were looking at with Hammurabi, these leaders would also rule and make decisions. And the last two, some of our famous leaders was Gideon, Samson, Samuel, and Deborah, a woman. And the judges helped keep the 12 tribes united. So without these judges, the tribes would have kind of fallen apart and not stayed as close. Also, one thing to keep in mind when we look at our judges here as leaders, through history, your kings, like Hammurabi, are those who are going to not only give the law, but they're going to make decisions over fairness and unfairness. Perfect example, let's say you're a farmer and you steal your neighbor's cow and because you think it's yours, but it's clearly not. You would actually go to the court of a local ruler. So let's say you happen to live in Hammurabi's actual city. He would make the rule, the law, the judgment of whether you are guilty or not. So whether you would owe money or not. And that's how it's going to work actually through most of history. All right, I'm going to put a stop here. And what you are going to do next is check Google Classroom. You're going to see your assigned notes posted. And you're going to have a partner. For today, I want you just to get your notes on your own. So you're going to continue reading, look at the page numbers to find your section, and write down your notes just after where we stopped right here. So if you have space at the bottom, perfect. If you have to go to the next page, that is fine as well. Tomorrow, with that partner, you will get to work with that partner tomorrow, but not yet. Work on your own today and finish it for homework. So tomorrow, you'll be creating a presentation with that partner going over those notes. All right. Have a great day, and I'll see you when I see you.